And I did a few, and one of them, they were doing these big casting calls for Explorers. Joe Dante had just had a tremendous success with Gremlins, and they were letting him kind of make this, it was a really big movie for the time. And I went in on this casting call, and I went on a series of auditions over and over again. And I finally got the part, and I think my parents freaked out when I got the part. They never thought that was a realistic option of, because it had all these problems, which is I had to go to LA to shoot the movie, and you know, my mom didn't want to let me do the movie, but my stepfather thought that was incredibly unfair to let me audition, but then not let me get it.
Because it was in the way of other things,
She
or
had a
because you
job.
just didn't like, yeah.
Well, how are we supposed to take care of me?
Yeah.
You know, it was a very, and that's when you get into the whole culture of child acting, which is insidious and kind of dark and dangerous, which is, you know, children making money because the parents end up quitting their job and living off their kids. It's a very dangerous thing for a child's psyche. But so that was my experience. After it was over, my parents were like, no more until, you know, that was it. So I had this experience, and funnily enough, it became, I think, a really defining experience for me, Explorers, because of it was a massive failure. At the time, it came out, it was supposed to be this big hit, they spent a lot of money on it, and it really, I don't think it got one good review, and nobody went to see it. And
it has a cult, but it does.
It does now.
Yeah.
Now there's certain people that
even
like
then
it.
there were a few people, but it was, yeah.
Well,
because Joe has a cult, so.
To me, in the inside of it, it felt like I had let everyone down. It was this powerful, disappointing experience, because I had been all hyped up and hepped up to believe that it was going to be the next E.T. and you know, it was going to have you know, I don't know what I thought, but I thought it was going to be important, and it was, you know, dismissed. And there could have been no better profession for, I mean, no better teaching for a young person for a life in the arts than that. I mean, I kind of feel like if I survived that, I had a good, it gave me the tools I needed to ultimately survive Dead Poets Society, you know.
So was the work you did in that, did it feel like work? Did it feel like you had a method or a particular skill, or were you just playing at that point?
Children love to play. You know, now that I'm in my 40s, I have to work hard to cultivate. It's much more difficult now, because you have to cultivate a sense of play. You have to pretend you're not inhibited. You have to pretend you don't realize that some people think you're a moron. You know, when you're younger, you just think everybody, oh, they're gonna love this. Look at me in this shirt. Or not, you know, I mean, I felt the same way about writing when I was young. I was like, look at this, I wrote this, isn't it great? You know, it's a kind of guilelessness or an earnestness that can be very irritating to other people. But when you're young, it's a kind of wonderful quality to have, really, because it gives you confidence in it. But so Explorers was kind of devastating. But when I graduated high school, I went to college, but they were doing another giant sweeping casting call, and I ended up.
So were you just a kid in high school who did Explorers, and that was part of your?
I was a kid in high school who very mysteriously seemed, some of the girls in school were interested in me because they heard rumors that I might have known River Phoenix. That was my, and in fact, the movie became more embarrassing than anything else. Like, I'd done this movie, but you know, the boys in the football team made fun of me about it, like, 'cause it was obviously to them a bad film. I say all this fully wanting to also say that I had an amazing experience with Joe Dante, and I personally love the movie, and I think it's a cool movie. I still do. But at that period of time, 14 to 18, it was a punch in the nose right out of the gate.
And then you also, at that period, without doing anything else.
I had a long time to think about it.
Yeah.
4 years when you're 14 is a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.